Speedrunners are known for doing some of the most repetitive tasks, from smashing a hammer into the ground 90 times to counting steps in RPGs, all in the name of saving time and going faster. But there's no other more notorious way of saving time with extremely low odds than this: driving into walls. Discovered in October of 2020, the Kalahari Desert fence clip would plague runners as its calculated odds of success were 1 in 90,000. Today we'll be looking at a brief history of the track, how the clip is possible, and the ups and downs that led to a community event where the impossible may have happened.
No!
Kalahari Desert has a long history dating back to the 90s, all of which comes to bear on the new shortcut. So to help understand the big picture, we need to look at how competition is organized at the top level. There are 2 leaderboard splits when it comes to the game, the largest being shortcuts, which allow the use of skips, and non-shortcut, where skips are banned. The second split is for 3-lap records and fast lap records, with non-shortcut and shortcut both having these as categories. There are also 2 high-level mechanics you need to master: mushroom boosts, of which you get 3, and mini turbos, or MTs. MTs add a special boost and are pulled off by drifting the cart and counter-steering until the smoke turns orange, at which point you can release the drift and gain a boost of speed. When it comes to Kalahari Desert 3-lap runs, they use 16 mini turbos on the opening lap and 17 on laps 2 and 3, as indicated by this 3-lap record by Matthias Rustemeyer. The extra MTs on the later laps come from not having a starting boost, which allows for an extra MT in its place. There's one issue with the 3-lap. You likely noticed the train that ran through parts of the track. It's on a global timer, and for the first 2 laps, it doesn't affect any of the lines you take. But on the 3rd lap, it's directly over the tracks at the first intersection when you arrive. It was discovered that if you took the right angle, you could slip between the wheels and slide through without getting hit, which saves a bit of time, but is also incredibly hard to do, as the train will be in a slightly different place each run, depending on your arrival time on lap 3. There's one section of the 3-lap worth mentioning, and that's the sloped hill section at the beginning of the track. Driving over it normally will have you make short hops that slow you down overall. For optimal speed, you want to jump as close to the edge as possible to grab some air. Otherwise, the run will be reset. As far as the F-lap was concerned, it didn't have to deal with the hill section, since a shroom was used as you approached the first jump. The speed boost, combined with a drift, gave you enough air that a manual jump wasn't necessary, eliminating the extra inputs entirely. The train also didn't pose a problem since the 3rd lap wasn't driven for speed. Instead, you use all 3 shrooms in strategic spots, which reduces the number of MTs down to 12, but speeds up the laps significantly. The shortcut laps were a different story. They had you use a shroom to jump over a section of track to save a few seconds. The 3-lap starts off identical to the non-shortcut version, with players driving over the initial hill section, but things change when it gets to the second intersection. Instead of taking a line to execute a shroom around the long corner of the track, you keep tight to the inside. This gives you 3 more hills to jump over, with no apparent way out. But with a well-timed shroom at a precise angle, you can hop over the tracks and land on the other side. The F-lap follows the same route, with the second shroom coming before the final hill section, so that you don't have to time jumps. As soon as the second shroom ends, you're in position for the 3rd, sliding right into the tracks and jumping the fences. As it stands, the track hopping shortcut method saves about 1.5 seconds over the non-shortcut 3-lap, with the F-lap shortcut saving just over a second on the non-shortcut method. And when the shortcut was discovered back in 1999, it was actually slower than the non-shortcut version. This raises an interesting point on what counts as a shortcut. Should tricks that beat the track in a way that's slower than the non-shortcut route be counted as a shortcut? Let me know in the comments down below. For the first 24 years of this track's history, these were the 2 methods of attack, with minor improvements being implemented here and there. For the non-shortcut laps, we see the 3-lap dropping just over 10 seconds from the first record to the current. and the F lap dropping just over 3 seconds. For shortcut tracks, we see a similar story, with the 3-lap time starting at 2:09.46, and Abney's last track hop record clocking in at 2:01.92. The F lap would drop over 4 seconds in its 21-year history, with the majority of its records coming between 1999 and 2000. But the winds of change were in the air near the end of 2020, as Mario Kart 64 was about to enter a new golden age of shortcuts. Thanks to work by Weatherton and Force64, 7 tracks would see new shortcuts from 2020 through to 2021. 2 that were possible in a full game skips run on Royal Raceway and Rainbow Road with the use of shells, finish line glitches on Luigi Raceway and Toad's Turnpike, the first ever skip on Sherbetland, and 2 more with Mario Raceway and Calamari Desert. These latter 2 tracks make use of the same type of glitch, clipping through walls to cut out the majority of the track. How this works is a bit technical, so I'll give an overview of what's going on. Walls have some very interesting properties. Their hitboxes are of a length of 4 characters, and are laid out so that a quarter of the hitbox is in front of the wall, with the other 3/4 being behind the wall. If you are moving fast enough that you would be in front of the wall on one frame and behind its hitbox on the next, you can clip through. The speeds required to do this are higher than normally achievable in a run, but there are exceptions. Mario Raceway has walls that form concave corners where they meet. Due to this, the hitboxes at the corner intersect at an angle that reduces the speed you would need to clip through. And under the right conditions, you can slip through the wall using a shroom and a jump. Calamari Desert is just a little bit different, since the wall we want to clip through is this fence that borders the train tracks. It has hitboxes that run in both directions, and overlap in the middle, with one unique property. If you're approaching from outside of the fence, only the small portion of the hitbox will push you back out. The section inside won't have any effect on you. This makes it relatively easy to clip from the outside to the inside when using a mushroom, as you're moving fast enough to be on different sides of the hitbox between frames. Going from the inside to the outside is another story, as the full width of the hitbox will try to push you back to stay inside of the tracks. This means that you'd have to be moving at speeds higher than you could achieve in a normal run to start on one side of the hitbox and be fully beyond it on the next frame. There is one position that Force64 discovered using a task that will let you clip through the fence, but getting into it is another story. It turns out that if you boost into the fence and land exactly in the middle of it, you will pass through without being pushed back in. There's one problem with this. The position you need to be in before you hit the boost to reach the middle of the fence is very precise, with the smallest margin of error being tolerated for a successful clip. It's precise down to a floating point number, so the best strategy runners have come up with is to drive to the approximate location, hit the mushroom, and pray that it works. Using this method, the odds of a successful clip were calculated to be about 1 in 90,000, which makes this the most unlikely shortcut in all of Mario Kart 64. But if there's one thing we know about Mario Karters, it's that they will drive into walls repeatedly in the name of going fast. After the clip was found in October of 2020, a few runners would stream attempts in the hopes of hitting the skip and grabbing a fresh world record, as a successful clip would save between 5 to 10 seconds, depending on how you set it up. October would pass and no times would be posted to the board, but in the early days of November, this would happen.
4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, no!
MrPittjr hit the clip and then reset the attempt. On his 45th attempt of the fence clip, he nailed the unlikely shortcut, but the 40 minutes of muscle memory he built up pausing and resetting the course had him nullify the attempt before he could realize what had happened. While this was unfortunate for MrPittjr, it did give the community a new vigor when it came to the clip, with more streams being done in the hopes of being the first to land a successful skip. and completed track. This meant that the grind was on, and it's worth looking at the logistics of this clip when approaching it for a world record level run. Given that it saved so much time, pulling off the clip meant that you would grab the F-lap and 3-lap records on the same run. But since the clip only needed one shroom, the question became, what do we do with the other 2 boosts? 2 schools of thought developed. If you want to maximize attempts per hour, you would use a single shroom to get to the fence and then try the clip twice. This method produced about 240 attempts per hour, but any record set would be slightly weaker as the shrooms weren't being used in the optimal spots. If you wanted to optimize the lap, should a successful clip occur, you would use 2 shrooms to get to the fence and 1 to do the clip. This lowered your attempts per hour to about 1 per minute, with some runners being able to average 100. The fewer tries per hour were valued higher since they yielded a better lap. After MrPittjr's reset in November, December would roll around with no other runner seeing success on the fence clip, and the popularity of the skip would wane as 2021 began, with the Sherbetland skip taking everyone's attention. When the excitement died down from the Sherbetland skip, a few more months would pass with no successful fence clips, and the community got restless. They decided that 90,000 attempts was too much for a single runner to undertake on their own, so an event was planned for April 24th. Over the course of the weekend, the entire community would stream attempts in an effort to brute force their way to a collective 90,000 attempts, so that someone could claim the title of being the first person to complete the track with the clip. To raise the stakes even higher, a prize pool was started for the first person to get world record with the clip, climbing to over $1,000 for the lucky person who nailed the skip and finished the run. This saw some of the most dominant runners come out to try the shortcut, with the top 2 non-shortcut players taking a break from their heated rivalry for the champion title to grind attempts as well. There was also Beck Abney, and his story leading into this is worth taking a look at. Before the event started, Abney was in possession of 20 of a possible 22 shortcut records, missing only the Wario Stadium 3-lap held by VAJ, and the Luigi Raceway 3-lap, which was taken by Kiyotaka Umeki. VAJ was on a mission to stop Abney from gaining all of the shortcut records, as Abney was a member of the A1A, an alliance that formed to stop Matthias Rustemeyer from taking all of the non-shortcut records back in 2018, so it was only fitting that a shortcut A1A rose up to stop Abney. If Abney was the first to hit the fence clip, it would create a huge buffer for him to grind the other tracks, and conversely, if someone else hit the clip, it would make a sweep in the near future very hard to do, so the pressure was on everyone leading into this event. The first day of attempts closed with no fence clips, and as America and Europe went to sleep, Australia woke up to continue the grind. There wasn't a time period on Twitch that you couldn't tune in to watch somebody grinding the skip. Sunday began, and no successes were seen. Attempt after attempt would bounce off the wall and reset to the starting line. It looked as though Abney's sweep was inevitable, with the event drawing to a close on Sunday night. But one player continued grinding. Australian runner Dossey would wake up on Monday after the event had concluded, and he'd start streaming more attempts. Having joined the time trials leaderboard in 2018, Dossey would submit a timesheet that had him ranked in the top 1,000 in non-shortcut, submitting only a single shortcut time, a 3-lap on Wario Stadium. Over the course of the event, he grinded 3,050 attempts at the clip, and about 2,000 more prior to the start of the event to put his total just above 5,000. He put on a coffee Monday morning and got to work, using the one shroom strat to optimize attempts per hour. He was making great use of time, averaging 2 attempts per minute with this strategy, and keeping his focus razor sharp. Reset after reset after reset. The same pattern as the rest of the weekend. He was hoping for just one success.
Oh my god, I got it. I got it.
Just 16 attempts into the day, Dossie would hit the clip and clutch out a world record. His time saw an improvement of 9 seconds on the F lap and 5 seconds over the 3 lap. And after the run was verified, he celebrated as anyone would, by getting their out on stream. Since Dossey used the strat optimized for attempts per hour, the record isn't as strong as a 2-shroom strat would be, but he did hit the clip on his first attempt, so he had the 3rd shroom for after the clip, which means the lap optimized strat will almost certainly be required to beat him, but only time will tell. From the time Pitt hit the first clip to Dossey's completed run, the community grinded out about 30,000 attempts in total, which might indicate the success rate is higher than the original estimate of 1 in 90,000. One thing's for sure though, the story is far from over, as the battle between Abney and the shortcut A1A will continue to rage over the year. As for Dossey, he's going to focus more on non-shortcut tracks, with 2 world records being enough to satisfy his shortcut ambitions. There is one other shortcut to talk about. If you liked the content, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell, as it will ensure you get notifications about more videos like this one in as short of time as possible. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.